All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again today. Another really fantastic episode for all you folks that have animal companions or any kind of pets or animals that you want to look out for. We've got Dr. Cathy Alinovi, DVM. How you doing?
Hi, good. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're going to just basically start it up by saying she runs a holistic, she's a consultant for animals down there in Tampa, Clearwater area in Florida. Not a vet because
no, not licensed.
because there is a story behind this, and all the people that watch the show will understand what kind of pressure she's under with this story. So tell us what happened when this initially all broke out, this whole thing about your license.
What drama? I think it was 6 years ago now. Actually, the whole thing started about 8 years ago. I had somebody filed a report with the Indiana State Attorney General's office, and it actually sat in this stack for 2 years. And then political change, and there were some new people in office, and the Deputy Attorney General, decided we're going after this woman. So I had complaints, negligence, animal abuse, and I can't even remember. So it was 16 pages of charges, and I was going along, paying this attorney tons of money, and she started out, sure, we can fight this, and it's getting close, and I'm like, wait, you want me to sign that, say that it's true, go to 9 months or more of counseling with a forensic psychologist, yet I have to say that it's true, portray that it's true. I finally, at the week before, I told my attorney, I'm not signing that. And she's like, what? And I got to call you back. She gets back to me in 24 hours. She's like, okay, here's how we're going to do this. And so I went down to signing, 4 pages of charges, because God forbid you not have charges. And yes, I relinquished my veterinary license for 99 years. And basically it comes down to, through listening to my clients, I had people say, well, I don't vaccinate my dogs after 10 years old because they get sick. And I went, really? I started thinking about that and looking, and they were right, and getting more information. And then I learned chiropractic and acupuncture and all this stuff. And then I learned about the pet food industry.
Which this is the next rabbit hole we definitely want to talk about, because so obviously there was some force and business interests pretty much rule America in this way. So that if you're doing something that's not within the bounds of the system, and that is trying to push vaccines or push anything that's a product, pet food, trying to make it at a cheaper and cheaper rate, which just means the quality of it's getting less. At what point do you kind of wake up and realize that the deck is stacked against you in that way?
I think each of us kind of have it at a different point. And each of those topics. Vaccines, pick vaccines. I'm in Florida. This is the land of, no, you don't have to be COVID vaccinated. Yet this is also the land where conventional veterinarians will refuse care to people who don't have current vaccines on their pets. So we've got this 12-year-old dog that's dying of cancer, but the dog can't come into the vet clinic because he's not current on rabies. So it's the corporate mentality has come down to the level of the veterinary office. And sadly, many of the veterinary offices are now owned by large corporations, or medium or small corporations, but they're not individuals anymore. And oh goodness, it's educational. I have to counsel my clients. It's like, okay, you're on your way to the emergency room. You need to go to the emergency room, but I need you to lie. You need to tell the emergency room that your pet is current on vaccines, and you need to say that your dog or cat is not eating a raw pet food diet. You got to lie, because these vets are going to go down this rabbit hole of, oh my God, you're feeding raw food. They're going to die of salmonella, when the dog ate a whole bunch of those nuts off of a palm tree and has an obstruction. Don't look at salmonella. Look at the obstruction and fix the dog. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Yes. And it's a lot like the mechanic when you take the car to the mechanic and he says, well, legally, I can't let you drive out of here like this. I'm going to have to.
Right. It's my freaking car. And it's like, and the mechanic making sure that you have a driver's license. It's not his job.
Yeah. Which is doing the exact thing that you don't need done at that time, which is just right. Take care of the problem at hand.
Right. Just do the oil change, please.
So it was a slow process, with the corporation slowly crept into the veterinary business.
It has. I would say 20 years ago when I graduated vet school, you didn't really even hear of corporations in the veterinary industry. How much of that was because we didn't listen, didn't hear it? But Banfield veterinary hospitals and VCA in the United States were new 15, 20 years ago. Now, Mars, the candy bar company, they own many of the veterinary corporations in the United States, and they own. So two corporations own 75% of big pet food. You mentioned one before we came on the air, Purina. The other one is Mars, the candy bar company. So these two own 75% of the pet food industry. Well, Mars also owns VCA, Banfield, and because I'm in Tampa Bay Veterinary Specialist, and Blue Pearl. And then you mentioned Purina coming into Europe and buying all these corporations. So they own the world.
Mm-hmm. So, and people
They're genius.
Right. And from a business standpoint, this is a brilliant move.
Brilliant.
But from an ethical standpoint, and this is where the economy and things like the environment, animals, they're not mutually exclusive, shouldn't be in the same place at the same time, because one, this business mentality eventually hurts the public good. But was it a slow process in the fact that, did you ever get approached by Purina reps to come into your store and want to hang up racks of food or advertise with you? Because that seems to happen a lot with vets.
Not in that way. So I went to Purdue Vet School, and we had pet food sales, where as veterinary students and the faculty and staff there could buy pet food at huge discount. It was a lot of Science Diet, and then Purina, Pro Plan, Waltham came in, that sort of thing. And so it's a little bit more insidious in the way that they trained us. Was we didn't have a whole lot of education. What we had was, hey, free seminar tonight. We will provide you with subs or pizza or whatever. You just need to listen to our talk about veterinary renal diets or liver diets or, allergy diets. And so imagine we're brain dead. Vet school is sort of close to torture. And we're at the end of the day, feed me, talk to me. You don't think to ask questions. You're busy eating, going, okay. And meanwhile, the companies are providing to us at a huge discount all this food. And I was totally bought in. I had a dog, my senior year of vet school, that I adopted through the vet school. Lady. She was a lady. She was a whiskers, and she had a tail and little flappy ears. And lady had food allergies. So I did what every good vet student does, and I bought ZD, Hill's Science Diet prescription pet food. And she continued to have ear infections, and her coat was all greasy, and she shed. And I just thought that's how it was. And then I graduated, and I sold this food. And, meanwhile, I'd had a client who told me about vaccines. And then I had two clients And one dog, one horse that I knew exactly where the joint lameness was, but I had nothing to make it better. And to both of them, and I'd never been to a chiropractor, to both of them, I said, you need a chiropractor. And they're like, well, we don't have one. Why don't you go? So I went to chiropractic school. One of my teachers was teaching an allergy seminar. It's funny how in Turkish, it's a snake story, you know?
Yeah.
Ooh, here we go. And so I go to this allergy seminar. It's about the food. Oh my God, you want to talk a guilt trip. So I spend the weekend learning what's in this S word, garbage. I was selling this crap to my clients, trying to say that this is better nutrition. I was making their health worse. So guilt trip, went home. I'm going to feed Lady Dog a raw diet. I went out, I bought a commercially prepared raw diet, 3 days. She stopped shedding, cleared up her food allergies, and my aloof dog became friendly. 3 days. And so then I started to teach my customers, okay, I had to get rid of the science diet.
Absolutely.
And then try to carry better pet food. And so I'm trying to carry better kibble, which I've now learned that you just pretty much can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, I had thought that some of these more premium brands were better, and I had been recommending them for a while until I found out that they still have rendered ingredients. And for a while, the companies thought I was cool. And then I realized that even those kibbles were bad. And I'm like, look, you just got to feed real food. And all of a sudden, those kibble companies weren't happy with me anymore. I heard that through the grapevine. So it's a process. It's tough. Now people come in and our first visit's an hour long, and I spend 80% of the time saying 80% of your problem is your food. Here's why you've got to change food. If you want me to help you, you have to change your food. Some people aren't willing. I say, okay, good luck to you. I can't help you. It's a blank gray wall, but in my office, I have all these herbs all over the wall. I'm not going to send home herbs if you're going to continue to feed the equivalent of Captain Crunch cereal because it's pissing in the wind. You're wasting your time and your money.
Yeah. And you're doing exactly what they want you to do, which is to get your dog sick. And then once you're sick on the Purina food, bring it into the Purina veterinary office and they'll treat it, you know. And do you think there's some similarity between Americans and what they eat and also their laissez-faire attitude about what their dogs eat then? Because they don't care about their own health.
Well, exactly. You have to care about your health to care about your pets. I've seen two kinds of people. I had this one lady in Indiana. I hadn't seen her for about 8 months, and she comes in. I'm like, damn, you look good. She lost 100 pounds. She looked hot. And I was like, what happened? And she's like, well, everything that you told me about the dog, I realized applied to me. And she was cooking. So then she's cooking better food for her husband, and he lost some weight, and the dog lost a lot of weight. And so they all looked fantastic. So some people learn it through their pets, and some people learn it through themselves and go, wait a minute, why am I doing this to my dog? So it both works.
Yeah. And it's never too late to start feeding yourself right and feeding everything. And there's just too much misconception. And people say, you know, I survive off of McDonald's. I'm sure my dog would love a cheeseburger too. But our dogs are also omnivores, yeah? Right.
Yeah. I'd rather you get, that's tough. McDonald's. You know, McDonald's is still better than dog food.
Really?
Yes, because it's at least acceptable for human consumption. It's still a degree better, but it's like, look at my face. It's like, because if I actually think hard about a McDonald's hamburger, I'm going to start making those puking sounds in the back corner, like the cat hacking into my shoe. But it's still higher quality than the pet food. Yeah. The pet food is how we recycle human food waste, period. If it's kibble or canned conventional pet food, it's recycled human food waste. So it's not acceptable, legal for humans. Boom. Let's make $30 billion a year in the U.S. $65 billion a year profit worldwide on recycling human food garbage to pets. And then it's another $65 billion of health care. It's great money. People love their animals. Jeez, yeah, it's great money.
Jesus Christ. And for all you people out there that are still buying food that has things like colorants and aroma, let me tell you something. Dogs can't see the same spectrum of color that you do, so it's just pointless. It's pointless and it's not good for them. And when the shit comes out the other side and it's all rainbow colored and in puddles, right. A puddle of rainbow colors, you're not doing the right thing, and you need to change. So what are some of the things that you would feed a dog? What's a good dog diet in your opinion? What did you have for dinner?
Real food. What did you have for dinner? What did you have for dinner last night?
Well, I had some pretty spicy beans, so I don't know.
Okay.
Dogs can have lentils, right?
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
They can have spices. Okay. So here's the food talk. 5 people foods are poisonous to dogs. What are they? Chocolate.
Okay.
Grapes and raisins. This is the dog list. Okay, grapes and raisins. The next one has 2 adjectives. These are important. Large amounts of raw onion and garlic. So if you had a little bit of cooked onions or garlic in your lentils, I just turned purple.
I love it.
And then it's okay because it's cooked. And then xylitol and cooked bones.
Okay, xylitol.
Right, kills them dead.
Wow.
Doesn't kill cats. I don't know why. But
so what's this an ingredient mostly in? This is like something that you can be found in what?
So it's in people food. Xylitol is in sugar-free toothpaste and sugar-free gum. So kids who have sugar-free gum and they put their backpack on the floor and the gum's in there and the dog comes and goes, "Ooh, what's this?" and eats it. We're going to the ER. It's pretty bad.
Wow. Especially considering how pointless chewing gum is. That's really sad.
Oh, you mean it doesn't clean your teeth? We need sarcasm in action.
Yeah, chewing gum is just so us to differentiate who's a complete moron and who's not, and you wait for the jaw to move. You go, okay, that guy. Yeah.
I know. I don't despise gum. I despise. I'm sorry, it's terrible.
No. And from what I understand, it's not. It also is tricking your immune system or your digestive system into thinking you're eating, and that's also not so nice for your stomach and stuff. So
right.
Yeah, right. It's just kind of one of these foolish things that happens to be the impulse items in the checkout list. Where you think, yeah. If it's in that area. And I'll just say briefly, I did a little research on the grocery store and the way that they psychologically built it to have the vegetables in the front. And then as you move through it, there's more useless stuff until you get to the end. And it's the worst stuff you can get. But also they keep...
Bakery? Yeah.
Well, they keep the staples away from each other. You got to go from the milk. You got to go all the way across the thing to get to the other stuff. So...
Right.
It's just really nice. And you got to walk past all the chips and cookies and cereal and Captain Crunch.
Yeah. All the good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
So you have a website called Healthy PAWSIBILITIES. Is that right?
PAWSIBILITIES.
With like a PAW. You're encouraging people to look into what they're feeding. Obviously, this is important. But you also have a cookbook, yeah?
I have a cookbook, yeah. Started out being called Dinner PAWSIBLE, and then some marketer decided that cookbook for dogs and cats was the way to cook, because that's what people search on the internet. So whatever, fine. But the idea is, how do you take people food from the kitchen and present healthy food to your pets? So basically, my point of my list of the 5 poisonous people foods is, if you had healthy food for dinner last night, it's basically healthy for your dog or cat. And then, caveats and, how about this training? You're not smart enough to feed a dog. You need a veterinary nutritionist. Really? I have a 2-legged child and I'm smart enough to feed that, but I'm not smart enough to feed my 4-legged. It's total marketing. And so you just need to remember the 5 things that are poisonous. You can't feed those. And then it's a few simple things. And I ask people, do you want to cook or do you want to make the food or do you want to buy it? I want to cook. Okay, here's how you do it. And that was the point of our cookbook, is to help people to do that, make their own foods. And the idea is to show them that it's easy. And some people still go, I can't do it. It's like, no, it really isn't that hard. But it's the fear comes from 50 years of training now, since 1970. Training, our society has been trained. Food is not healthy. You don't know how to feed a dog. Every bite has to be complete and balanced. Oh, whatever. Yeah.
So we've slowly just been indoctrinated with the wrong information. And this is all just like industrial agriculture, to funnel money to the top while keeping us in the dark about real nutrition. The way I understand it, doctors only have to take about a half a semester of nutrition courses before they become a doctor. So we don't practice preventative medicine, and it's no surprise that dogs aren't any different, or pets are no different. So when we talk about food allergies, we might as well be talking about some kind of the chemical poisoning or toxic poisoning that's happening, because it's not, is it an allergy per se? No, it's some kind of poisoning. Yeah.
It depends. That's beautiful. It depends on the animal. In many cases, it's just your body doesn't like the garbage that's in the food, the dyes, the preservatives, the recycled waste. I mean, how about those cute little Milk-Bone cookies? It says animal and meat meal. No species listed. It can be anything, literally. At least if it says beef and bone meal, you know that it's supposed to be beef by law. So, it's just... So is your dog, how about the pretty little, the colors? I had a client once, this poor girl, she was so confused. She loved her cats. She insisted that when her mom went and bought cat food, that her mom buy the one with the most colors. So talk about pissed off intestines because of the sensitivities. Most of the time it's stop putting in garbage. Because realize that my analogy of Fruit Loops and Captain Crunch cereal is still a step above dog food. It's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, most of the time it's just get the garbage out, and then those so-called allergies go away. My lady dog was indeed allergic to grains, especially wheat and gluten, and beef. So we've become a chicken house. Even today, I have a dog and a cat who are allergic to not chicken. So I feed chicken. Yeah. And for variety, we get chicken and, sometimes some chicken. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, and real allergies do exist, and people are predisposed to not like or not be able to handle certain things. But on top of it, though, I think a lot of that a lot of chemical stuff is getting blamed on allergies, and I don't buy it anymore.
And it's kind of crazy, the allergies, because and then where does it come from? Because you talk about genetic predispositions. Well, now that we understand this epigenetic thing where you go down to the fraction of the genome and whatever, but maybe it's been modified because of the garbage in the food, or maybe the vaccines or the chemicals that these animals get, and that transmits genetically. So it's almost impossible to separate environment from genetics. It's crazy thought process.
So in a philosophical sense or whatever, well, how did we get to this point? Is it money?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, money.
Money.
You bet.
How's the lobbying industry that supports it and keeps us in the dark? Is that
spends the money?
Yeah. How much? And they took you to the cleaners as far as legal fees. How much do you think they spent and time wasted, money wasted going after you?
Oh, it's okay. The taxpayers paid that. It was the Attorney General's office. Yeah, taxpayers were paying that. They spent a lot of time. I spent over $100,000, at which point I went, oh, shit, I don't have any more money. And I would have honestly needed another $500,000 if I was going to litigate. And there's no way you win against that, if only because of the bad press. And so that was what came out of my pocket. And the Attorney General's office had spent a lot of time. So they spent probably $250,000 on some stupid little veterinarian in the middle of nowhere in freaking Pine Village, Indiana, who felt like maybe all these dogs don't need to be vaccinated anymore. And I just, I was trying to go for a long-term good health for these dogs. And so, oh, well.
But you mentioned that one time is good enough for most of them, that you don't have to keep coming back and doing it all the time. Continuously.
We got the science in vet school. We had this class called immunology, and they actually taught it to us. Second year of vet school. Okay, here comes my attitude.
I love it.
They taught it to us. So they taught us a dog or a cat is born. They nurse from their mom. They get loaded with maternal antibodies, and they fall off over 16 weeks. Now read your label on that rabies vial. It's to be given at 4 months. That's called more than 16 weeks. Because if you give the vaccine before, it might not work. It might knock out maternal antibody, or maybe it works. You don't know. Every dog, every cat is different. So if you want to know that it works, you give it at 4 months old. Well, there's a reason why the puppy vaccines and the kitten vaccines are a series, and the last one is given after 4 months old to make sure that the immune system kicks in and works. Everything before it's a crapshoot, it's simply a profit center. It's a beautiful profit center. It's huge. It's a profit center.
Wow. Shooting around in the dark. That's incredible. That's incredible.
And then a little bit of research, a little bit of science, boom. And then Dr. Jean Dodds in California as a veterinarian, and she's had her share of challenges because she looks at things differently. She's been doing this rabies challenge study. So she has this colony. The dogs live in people's houses, but these are greyhounds that donate blood. But she's been measuring antibodies to one rabies vaccine given around 4 months of age at these dogs. And the last that I read, 8 years later, they all still had antibodies. It's profit center.
Profit center.
It's a great profit center. Tons of money.
Did you notice every avenue of the veterinary field becoming monetized like that? Like as far as were there other procedures that because there's this working conspiracy that, and they've been caught many times where doctors are overprescribing diseases for humans, and they're saying you need this treatment that they don't actually need, but they just want to charge the insurance. Is that something that happens?
I went to a client compliance course. I had an associate veterinarian who worked for me, and she was a recent graduate, and she's like, oh, I have a hard time talking people into things and, giving them and getting them to do things. And I'm like, oh, well, let's do this client compliance course. And I didn't really think about it at the time completely, yet I thought about it a little and then I kind of dismissed it. So basically I'm going to present the absolute worst case scenario to you so that I manipulate you emotionally into buying the most expensive service. I was trained to do that. I took a class. I paid for the class. I trained my associate veterinarian. We came home from this, and this is how it's absolute manipulation. Absolute manipulation.
Now I'm pissed off.
Good. Please be pissed. And I'm embarrassed because I did it.
Sure.
But now because I recognize it, I can help my clients, because I have a bunch of clients. I mean, they have to go to a regular Western veterinarian because I can't do surgeries and, whatever they need. If they have an emergency, they need to go to a regular vet. But then they get manipulated into things. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's a profit center. And so I tell people, and part of our talk is, okay, what vaccine is required by law? There's one. Rabies vaccine. And then, I don't give them, so I don't care if your dog's current or not. I will never tell. I don't have records. But there are veterinarians who give this many, 7 vaccines at once. Oh, and by the way, that little 2-pound Chihuahua gets the same dose as the 300-pound Hungarian Mastiff.
Jesus Christ.
And let's give them 7 and tell me why this dog gets sick. And veterinarians are refusing to write waivers for these dogs because they have somehow been convinced that the vaccine is more important. Even though the dog got really sick last time and it's documented in the records, the vaccine is more important. So, that's fine. We'll just pre-medicate with some Benadryl. Are you serious? You need to make money that badly? And that was actually a conversation I had with myself.
Yeah.
Really? You need to make money that badly? No, you don't. If the only reason somebody's coming in to see you, Cathy, is to get a vaccine, don't see them. I don't see them. I don't want to see them. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, and so this is one of the main reasons that humans and animals alike who exist in this kind of modern day technological capitalistic system will never really be healthy, because that profit motive and that exponential economic growth thing doesn't want us to be that way. They need to sell us a cure. And so everybody out there, this Purina thing, they're selling your dog's sickness and then turn around and selling them the cure.
Selling them, I think mitigation's the right word, because it's slowing the process of the disease. You don't want to fix cancer. You want to slow the death process, because look at all this money we're collecting in this time frame.
Wow.
Right?
So that's the definition of torture, keeping somebody alive by being really, really cruel to them.
Right.
At the very least, I respect it if they just put me out of my misery,
Right.
But
there's a lot less money in that, though.
Yeah. So, and here's the other thing, folks, is that your dog can't talk and tell you that I don't like how I feel. I don't trust that vet. I mean, sometimes they say that, but
sometimes they do.
Yeah, for the most part, they can't really speak up and say, this what you fed me isn't sitting so good.
Right.
So you have to be keen on that kind of stuff. So if you care about your animal, I guess there's people out there that just don't give a rat's ass, and they just,
There are a few, but I honestly think it's the minority. Most people actually truly love their animals like they love their children. Sometimes they don't know how to make things better. Sometimes they don't have the means to make things better. Most of the time it's just, okay, I believe whoever is telling me. I don't have time to think about it. Just like us in vet school. Yeah. Feed me lunch. I'll listen to your lecture.
Yeah. I really fear that some of the educational institutions that humans go to for not just veterinary, but like anything, is indoctrinated with profit motive kind of ideas like that, where they want you to, keep upselling, keep selling stuff, make up stuff. That's sad. Well, straight from your mouth, Purdue University scumbags. Yeah.
They're all the same. They're all the same.
You're great. Thanks for coming on. Let's do it again. We'll figure out a new axe to grind where we can go after these bastards and try to make animals more. That's your favorite thing.
Yeah, why not?
All right. We'll have another axe to grind next time, and we'll try to help animals live a better life. Check out Healthy PAWSIBILITIES and Dr. Cathy Alinovi, DVM, her book, Cookbook. Check her out. She's great.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.